We're here to tell you which running backs to count on and who to avoid in your lineup for week 6 of fantasy football.
And make sure you stick around to the end where we tell you which running backs are going to win you your week and which ones are going to let your fantasy team down.
Running back, is the key to winning in fantasy football. It's also going to be the trickiest position. So, as you know, 2020, everything's tricky these days. So many injuries, illnesses, you name it. And Chris, obviously no exception here. The big news, well, there's a lot of big news this week for running back, but let's start with Dalvin Cook. Looks like he's not going to play. Been a top 5 running back, really a top 5 fantasy player, and carrying some teams. He is out, at least for this week, an abductor strain. That means we're going to see a whole lot of Alexander Mattison. Here's the question. Is Alexander Mattison going to deliver RB1 value, and is he a must start against the Falcons?
Yes and yes. Absolutely. We saw what he did on Monday night. It's kind of confusing because we had a Tuesday night game. I was like, wait, was that Sunday night? No, it was Monday night. We saw what he did Monday night. We've seen what he has done in the past when Dalvin Cook is not out. Absolutely, he's a must start. If you grab him off waiver wire, he's a must start. This is an absolute incredible matchup. Atlanta routinely gets destroyed by running backs, especially in the passing game. So I expect Mattison to catch, 5-6 passes, run for a zillion yards. Yeah, absolute RB1 must start if you got him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, first of all, regardless of matchup, I think he'd be a must start just because the Vikings, we know they've run the ball third most times out of any team in the league. They want to run the ball, even if Cook isn't there. Mattison has shown he's more than capable. So there's no reason they're going to go away from that. They don't want to, rely too much on Kirk Cousins. And then second of all, I don't care who it is going against the Falcons. Yes, please. Okay. The Falcons are getting destroyed by everybody and everything. Dan Quinn finally got fired. And I don't think it's going to necessarily make them a better team just because they can't change their personnel on defense, right? They're still banged up on, an offense with a receiver. Matt Ryan doesn't look like himself. So this is a team that's just ready to roll over, possibly. But even so, you can't ignore those two things, the volume, the matchup. Mattison was, if you caught my waiver wire video for running backs, of course, the top choice. I know a lot of people are saying, well, in competitive leagues, he's gone, right? People had him as a handcuff. And that's probably true. If he was available, hopefully you scooped him up. But if you've been stashing him, you've got to put him in your lineup. This is why we keep running back handcuffs. All right, so that one's a little obvious. Now, here's the thing. That was the first big news of the week. It keeps getting better. Probably the biggest news that just happened, Le'Veon Bell, he gone. Gone, not even on the team. It went from they're exploring a trade to, yeah, we're just going to release him. In a matter of 24 hours. Chris, did you think that was going to happen at least right now? And then what do you do if you're the Bell owner?
No, I don't think anybody saw it coming. I know they were trying to trade him, but you just think like, okay, if you can't trade him, just keep playing him, right? Why release him? But that's how Adam Gase does things. So good for Le'Veon Bell because whether he gets claimed or not, he's going to go to a better situation. Like it can't be worse. We have seen too many times now where a player looked awful under Adam Gase, goes to a different situation, and suddenly is a great player. We've seen it with Devontae Parker, Ryan Tannehill, Robbie Anderson now this year, and I expect that will happen to Le'Veon Bell. So I think if you have Le'Veon Bell and you've been benching him, which you should have been benching him, you got to just hold on to him and hope he goes to a great spot. There's a lot of rumors out there, but we'll see. As far as the Jets now, without Le'Veon Bell, we're looking at some kind of Frank Gore, Michael Perine combo duo. Perine, obviously, they drafted him this year. I mean, whatever. Like, if you're in a really deep league and you're really desperate, Gore probably is okay because he's probably going to get 15 touches, 15 carries. He's going to, 50, 60 yards. Maybe he'll fall into the end zone. Perine, deep league stash, I think, just in case it doesn't work out with Gore, or maybe he starts inheriting the role over Gore. I don't know, maybe he inherits that Le'Veon Bell role. So I like Perine as a deep league stash, nothing more than that. Gore, I mean, he's just like a desperation. Hopefully he falls into the end zone because we know he's not going to catch any passes or very few passes. So not really on either of these guys this week. More like just a stash for Perine and a hope and pray for Gore.
Yeah, you've got to be in a pretty deep league if you're starting. Well, honestly, if you're starting any Jets, other than maybe Jameson Crowder, who's been decent, right? Start Crowder, but yeah, you don't want to be having to start Gore. If so, something's gone wrong, on your roster, which is a lot of us, right? Running backs are just, falling off the wayside. But yeah, Gore, we know what we're getting, right? 3 point something yards per carry, probably 15 carries in a really bad offense. So, hopefully you don't have to start him. Perine is interesting, but don't put him in your lineup expecting that he's going to be the new Lev Bell, because he's not. And it's still the Jets, and the Jets are still terrible in every way possible. So if you're in maybe a 14 or more team league, you can stash him. But that's it. All you're doing is you're hoping that he'll catch a few passes and give you a few points, but that's about it. So he's not going to be a waiver savior at this point. Now, the next big news here is Melvin Gordon. This just happened this morning. We don't know what the situation exactly is as far as him playing or not, but DUI, not a good situation there. So Melvin Gordon may be facing a suspension from the team, from the league. Who knows? But all we know right now is it's just happened. So there's a good chance. And I think that Vic Fangio, coach, said, we'll see, or something really vague. All right, so I would say prepare to be without Gordon, which means Phillip Lindsay's next man up. He's back now. But Chris, going against New England and not sure exactly the situation here, coming off a toe injury, how confident are you in Phillip Lindsay?
Yeah. Wow. What a news week for running backs. I think, you have to treat Gordon like he's not going to play. It would be ridiculous if he played this week. I mean, come on. He got charged with DUI. He was driving 71 in a 35. Like, he's lucky he didn't kill somebody, right? Honestly, like, if we're going to be honest. So, you just, there's no way Gordon could play this week. I guess it's the NFL. They let anybody. If you've got talent, it doesn't matter what you do off the field, you can play. So maybe he will, but you got to treat it as if he won't. As far as Lindsay, it's like, oh, okay, Phillip Lindsay's going to get a chance. And we've seen Lindsay has been really good when he's the guy, right? We know Phillip Lindsay can be really good, but this is a tough matchup against New England, one of the toughest run defenses out there. I guess he's okay as like a flex option because he's going to get the touches, right? You're looking at the volume. He's going to get some work in the passing game. I expect Royce Freeman. This is another guy, if you're in a deeper league, go out and grab Royce Freeman because he's basically – it's him and Phillip Lindsay, at least for the next, however long Gordon's going to be out with suspension for. So don't start Royce Freeman this week, though, unless you're absolutely desperate. Lindsay, I think, is okay as a flex start. I wish this matchup was better. So I could just tell you, get Lindsay in your lineup for sure. But I'm definitely worried about this matchup for Lindsay. Obviously, he can score a touchdown. He's got the talent, but like you said, coming off that toe injury, I can't view him as anything more than a flex this week.
Yeah, that whole Denver offense, you can't be too inspired by it. We don't know if Drew Lock's going to come back or not. It looks like he will be, but again, he's missed a lot of the season. No Sutton. They're banged up. So that offense now without Gordon, it's not going to be better, right? Lindsay will get more touches, obviously, but we don't know how effective he'll be. We've seen Lindsay in the role as the main guy before. You've got to think there's a reason they went out and got Melvin Gordon, right? So I'm not saying they don't have any confidence in him, but still, I wouldn't expect RB2 numbers. I would expect more like RB3. But in these days, with all the running backs that are gone, you probably are starting him, especially if you're the Gordon owner, then you probably have no choice. That same matchup, I want to ask you about Damien Harris. We kind of talked about it last week, and that game didn't happen. So this is the same game. Do you have the same answer now? It looks like Cam Newton might play. So is Damien Harris a guy that you consider startable?
It's hard to say he's not startable when you look at the running back landscape and you're like, how many guys are going to get you 15 touches, right? That aren't named Frank Gore and in the Jets offense. But again, I look at him as nothing more than a flex play because we know he's not going to be involved in the passing game, maybe at all. He didn't catch any passes 2 weeks ago when he played. We know that James White's there. He's going to be the primary pass catcher. Rex Burkhead probably going to get sprinkled into the passing game a little bit. So you're just looking for a guy getting you 15 carries, basically, again, in another tough matchup against the Broncos. In fact, Broncos giving up the fewest fantasy points to running backs. So not a good situation for Damien Harris. But again, I'm not going to tell you to bench a guy that's going to be the lead back for the Patriots, but I can't view him as anything more than a deep league flex start.
And the problem, those of you who are in full PPR leagues, which is probably most of you, he's not going to be a pass catcher because they still got James White, right? That's what he does. Rex Burkhead will catch a couple passes. Harris, he's probably not going to get more than one or two. So the floor is low, tough matchup. Tough to say how much he'll run. Cam Newton there, he's going to vulture goal line work. Obviously, he's going to try to run it in himself because that's what he does. So it's risky. But again, I can kind of put him as a fringe. I think I have him maybe RB 30 on the week, which in this week, again, that's still pretty low considering how many running backs are out. So he is flexible. Just don't get your hopes up for a 100-yard game. That's what I would say. All right. And then some other guys here are kind of on the RB3 radar. How do you feel about the situation in Arizona? Because a lot of Kenyan Drake owners who hopefully listened to us in the preseason and didn't draft him, but if you are an owner, it's too late. But Drake doing Drake things, people will look and say, oh, he scored a touchdown. He had a decent amount of fantasy points. That's all he did. And once again, not involved as a pass catcher. Chase Edmonds looking better and better. So here's the question. If you have Chase Edmonds, you have Kenyan Drake. What are you doing with him?
Oh, well, if you have Kenyan Drake, you're probably just crying in your pillow right now because there's not much you can do with him. He just had 3 really good, juicy matchups and did almost nothing with it. If it wasn't for that touchdown, right, he would have done nothing again. I don't even know if you can play Kenyan. I mean, again, it's hard to say to bench Kenyan Drake because he is getting like 15, 16 touches, 15, 16 carries. He's not doing anything with them. He is getting some carries around the goal line, as we've seen, so that is encouraging, but no work in the passing game at all. So his ceiling is just very, very, very low here. We basically saw his ceiling last week, and that's a touchdown. Then you get 12 or 13 points or whatever, 14 points, whatever he got you. That's basically his ceiling. So again, I kind of view him like maybe a slightly better version of Damien Harris as far as a flex play, but I can't view him as anything more than that. And this Dallas, you think, oh, it's Dallas. Well, the Dallas run defense isn't that bad, really. The Dallas run defense is actually okay. It's through the pass that they're really terrible. So I don't expect Kenyan Drake to have a monster week. Chase Edmonds, again, I can't view him. He's still, even though it seems like every week he outperforms Kenyan Drake, when you go look at it, it's like, well, Kenyan Drake is still dominating the touches and dominating the snaps. So even though Chase Edmonds isn't getting a lot of touches, he's doing a lot with the touches he's getting, which is good. But the Cardinals still seem like really hesitant to give him way more work over Kenyan Drake for some reason. I don't understand. Maybe because they gave Drake that contract in the offseason and they got to make it look like, hey, it was worth it. But for some reason, it hasn't happened yet. I do think it will happen eventually. But yeah, I can't view either of these guys as more than a flex play this week. I'd love to say put Edmonds in and feel great about it. But again, when he's only getting, 5 or 6, he's only getting like a handful of carries and, 4 or 5 receptions, that's not enough to make me feel great about it. But I do feel okay about him as a flex start.
Yeah, I like the way you put it with Kenyan Drake, basically comparing him to Damien Harris. That's a pretty good comparison because, again, not getting action in the passing game, not going to be necessarily the primary focus in the backfield because there's other backs involved, kind of eating into their touches. Not great matchups really on paper. So, if you're a Drake owner at this point, you feel obligated to start him. But again, if you have somebody with a higher upside that you've picked up, I would say go for it because unless you're in a situation where you're okay just getting those few points and you don't really need upside, which would be a nice problem to have, yeah, you probably should look elsewhere. I like Edmonds in this matchup as a really solid RB3 because, like you said too, the Dallas defense, where are they vulnerable? It's in the passing game, the secondary, and they're using Edmonds as an extra receiver just out of the backfield. All right, that's his thing. It's been effective as we saw last week. So I do like Edmonds. I would start him if I have him this week. And then a quick one here. I got to talk about my boy Cam Akers. Look, I know Henderson is the one who got the touchdown, but he only got 38 yards and 15 carries. And Akers in those, sure, you can call it garbage time if you want, but in those fourth quarter touches, he looked pretty good. He had that long run. And here's the thing, right? Sean McVay actually said he wants Cam Akers to get more work. I think he said he will get more work this week. All right. What do you make of that?
I can't touch this backfield right now. I'm okay if you have Akers. I think Akers could still be the guy as the season goes on, but I'm not ready to roll any of these guys out yet. I mean, this is a three-headed monster. Darrell Henderson, yeah, he got those 2 touchdowns, but he didn't do anything outside of that. Cam Akers looked really good on that one run, but if you look at his other runs, he didn't really do much with those runs. I just, until one of these guys, and it seemed like Darrell Henderson had done that for 2 weeks, and then bam, all of a sudden the following week, it was the Malcolm Brown week, right? When everybody was like, okay, now you got to start Darrell Henderson. It was Malcolm Brown week, right? So I just can't right now until one of these guys clearly looks like they're taking over the backfield. I can't trust any of them right now. They're all on my bench if I have them.
I'm telling you, see, he doesn't want either Henderson or Brown to get too hot or, get too big head to make them think that they're the guy. Cause he's just been waiting to bring Akers in. He's the guy, right? He's just been waiting for him to get fully healthy. So the breakout has just been delayed a week. That's okay. It could be this week. I'm just saying, could be this week. I know I've said that for 5 weeks in a row. All right, let's get to our boom and bust plays, guys. You always look forward to this. We name our running backs who we think are going to either go off or just let us down completely. Could be someone completely off the radar. It could be somebody that you're on the fence about, and we're going to tell you go for it because it's a boom play. So, Chris, who you got?
Yeah, I got David Montgomery. This is going to be a theme, guys. Get used to this. I got David Montgomery going against the Panthers. He's getting the volume. He's getting the work. He was in a tough matchup against Tampa Bay, scored that touchdown, had a pretty nice game. Now he gets the Panthers, and I tweeted this out today. So over the first 5 games, here are the running back results against the Panthers. Week 1, Josh Jacobs, 35 fantasy points, overall running back 1. Week 2, Leonard Fournette, 27 fantasy points, overall running back 3. Week 3, Austin Eckler, 31 fantasy points, overall running back 3. Week 4, Kenyan Drake, let's just move on. Week 5, Todd Gurley, 25. That's last week, by the way. He was my boom. 25 fantasy points, the overall running back 3. So if you're keeping score at home, that's 4-3. That's 3 threes, a 1, and a Kenyan Drake, which we won't count. Now it's David Montgomery time. He's getting enough volume to easily be a top 10 running back this week, if not a top 5 running back. Start him anywhere you have him. Get him in your lineup, whatever you got to do.
Yeah, and I agree. Montgomery's kind of been undervalued all year. The only thing that would make me pause on him maybe this week is if they sign Le'Veon Bell and then they say he's going to play, which is not going to happen. So yeah, big fan of Montgomery in general. I'm going to go with similar theme. You got to stream against the Jets. I love to say this because I remember back in week 1 or after week 1, got some comments on Reddit, suggesting that you should maybe play running backs against the Jets, and oh no, the Jets, their run defense, that's what they do well. That's the only thing they're good at. They suck everywhere else, but the running backs, they'll shut them down. Yeah, they're not shutting anything down. Obviously, it's the Jets, right? They're getting worse each week, and they actually allow the 6th most fantasy points to running backs. So Myles Gaskin. That's right. Myles Gaskin is a must start. Jordan Howard, might not know, is injured, not going to play. And so forget the vulturing of the goal line. All right. Gaskin is going to get goal line touches too. They got nobody else. Breida, they're not even really considering. So Gaskin, basically it's a smash spot and he's the workhorse, believe it or not. So you got to start Gaskin. All right. Here's some guys you don't want to start. Chris, who's your bust this week?
Yeah, it's got to be Joe Mixon for me against the Colts. I know you look and you say, oh, but Kareem Hunt had a nice game. Here's the thing. The Browns barely ran for over 100 yards. The Browns are, if not the best, one of the best running teams in football. Barely ran for over 100 yards, and it took 30 running attempts for them to do that. Joe Mixon, that Cincinnati run game we know is not nearly as good as the Browns run game. That offensive line, not as good as that Browns offensive line. The Colts are going to shut them down. You're going to need Joe Mixon to find the end zone this week. to get you even double-digit points. I think this is another one of those 8-point, 9-point weeks from Joe Mixon. Yeah, the volume might be there, but I just don't think the results will.
Agree with that. That Colts defense is no joke. I'm going to go with a player that you've probably been starting most weeks. It's David Johnson. I don't like the matchup really because going against Tennessee, we saw what they did Tuesday night. And you're going to look at how many points they scored, and they limited Josh Allen, didn't have a big game. But look what they did to Devin Singletary. He only had, I think, 25 yards on 11 carries, shut down the running game and shut down Josh Allen from running too completely. And I've been big on this defense. They kind of underachieved the first couple of weeks, but also we've heard from the mouth of the head coach, Romeo Crennel, new head coach, is that Duke Johnson, they're going to try to get him more involved. Which I guess means that they're thinking the Bill O'Brien game plan of having the offense just run through David Johnson is not working so much. I know he had a good game last week, but that was against the Jaguars. Tennessee is not the Jaguars. So I'm fading David Johnson if possible. I know it's tough because he kind of brings that pass catching floor. So he's not a must sit, but I'm not expecting good things from him. All right, guys. So that does it for week 6 running back start sit. If you have specific questions about your lineup, hit us up right here on this YouTube channel. Give us a comment. Of course, give us a thumbs up if you liked what you heard, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also follow us at Endgame Fantasy, and we can help you out there. All right. Thanks for watching.